Yo guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another Masters Toronto video, okay? This one is very, very important, right? Because it's pick'em time. It is pick'em time, baby. This is where I either look like an idiot or I look like some five-head next coming of Christ, like deity, okay? This is important. Before we do the pick'ems though, I'm going to talk about each team, some of the strengths, some of the weaknesses, and how they are affected by the Teo changes, okay? First, here's some of your favorite players from the teams competing in the Swiss stage, I guess. You got BLG, Aspas, MIBR, Kiko, Heretics, Munchkin, Wolves, Second, PaperX, the GOATs of Pacific, PaperX. Anyway, first team we're looking at is Team Liquid, okay? Addition of a new player is Serial at the start of stage 1, if you didn't realise. You've got Kiko, Camo, and honestly, Serial has defied expectations, I think. There was a lot of pressure on him coming into this split, I guess. And I think he's done above what he needed, really. Like, he's fragging relatively decent. Some of the clutches this guy has and some of his individual like mechanics are really, really impressive. I've seen so many crazy clips from him. Yeah, not much I can really say. I don't know what PaperX is doing in this picture, but bro looks mischievous. So don't know what he was doing after this, but yeah, interesting. Anyway, the stat sheet, all right? I'm not going to be some VLR, Andy, or a Redditor being like, Team Liquid only have a 29% chance of winning an Icebox map. That's not very good if I'm on it, you know, like, I don't really care. It's an international event, all right? Let me get something straight. It's an international event. Anything can happen, right? You want a prime example? You look at EDG last year, coming into Champions. What they were probably hated. They were like, oh, it's EDG, they don't do anything, they're a no-name team, whatever. You've got Kang and then it's Kang and friends, all right? And EDG just went, yo, hold my beer, and they popped off. They did some crazy things and they won the whole event, didn't they? So when I'm looking at these stats, I don't really care in terms of the map percentages. It's more of the comps that I'm trying to highlight, right? Look at Teo in these images, and sort of talk about, well, what can they lean into now that Teo's been removed, practically? Are they going to go double Senti, which we look at Team Liquid, that's kind of the trend that I'm probably going to predict. Ascent, they're using double Senti. Lotus, they're liking the double Senti. The world's your oyster, you know? You can do whatever you want in this meta. You can go double controller. You could probably try a double duelist. You could go double Senti. You could do anything. I think one thing I do want to talk about is Gecko. I do think that Gecko is actually super strong, and I don't think teams have realised that just because of Teo's overwhelming power. But with Sunset coming back into the mix, but also the meta kind of changing and being a little bit more open than usual, I do think that Gecko is probably going to get played quite a lot more. Gecko's strong because of his like snowball effect, I guess, or utility. Just how quickly you can snowball the game with the Gecko plants, the ult captures, and just you can put like a secondary duelist onto the Gecko and get insane amounts of value. I think Woot is like a prime example from Heretics. You put that guy on Gecko and he's got a self-sufficient flash, a molly that he can just throw where he wants, and a wingman, which is like a raise roomba. So Gecko's kit does sort of support duelists, and I think it's the same with Icebox. On Icebox, Kiko plays Jet and Camo goes on to Gecko. So I think a lot of teams could do this. You know, if you've got an insane fragger and you maybe want to put him on a different role, well, just put him on Initiator. So yeah, I think Team Liquid, I'd like to think that their chances of sort of going into the playoffs are quite high. I do think they are a very, very good team. I think, as I said, coaching staff are pretty top tier. They look really, really intelligent. Every single game, they're changing things. New strats, new protocols, new defaults, whatever you want to call it. So I think if I'm Team Liquid, I'm pretty optimistic. Anyway, speaking of Woot and Heretics, let's talk about them. Heretics, their kickoff was pretty flat, pretty dire, but they're back. They are back, baby. The Shaggers are back. Where do I start with this team? I mean, individually, they are looking pretty top tier. Benji Fishy is certainly back. Rians is looking like some of the best. He's in the best form he's ever been in my opinion. This guy's utility, his individual game decision making, there's something just out of this world. And I think a big help for Heretics is when MIBR is online. And I'm not saying that MIBR is a bad player, and I'm not saying he ever has like really bad off days. But MIBR, he does a lot more than just sort of be that cracked entry duelist that you kind of want on your team. You can tell that he sort of keeps the players calm and collected, and he honestly probably has quite a lot of in-game leader traits. Yeah, I guess traits is the word. And he's very, very self-aware. But if this guy's shooting and he's like untouchable, this team, I don't think there's anything that can stop him. Woot's Woot's pulling the same face as PaperX, I swear. Hang on. Oh, kind of. But yeah, and honestly, the coaching staff of Heretics, Weber and Nilzinho, they're really, really special. These guys clearly have like a really good relationship. And in terms of splitting the responsibilities, I think it works pretty well. So this also isn't their first international event compared to some of these teams like RRQ, BLG with the new roster, Wolves. Heretics, of course, have expectations and they have pressures, but I think they're kind of going to be a little bit more calmer. But I think there's always going to be that thought in the back of their head where they're kind of expected to win an international event this year. And if they don't, this roster probably won't stick together. So I think with that thought in the back of your head, there's probably going to be a bit more weight on your shoulders. But I think they've done that much psychological training and sort of just not tilting and sort of keeping your emotions in control that I think they can surpass what they probably expect of themselves and go on to win it. But hey, they've got to get through Swiss stage first. Now, Heretics, they're bing chilling, okay? They barely use Teo at all. And when they have used Teo, like on Icebox or on Lotus, they've changed it. They have already made the changes before they've got to Toronto. So you think, they probably qualified like 2 weeks ago. So they've already been practicing in the lead up to Toronto. So it's not like you get into Toronto and you're going, oh shit, we've got to change our comps now. You know, they've already done it like 3 weeks prior, which is a really, really big advantage if you're Team Heretics. This team, their comps are really, really open. They can play whatever they want. They can play double controller. They could play double initiator. They could play double duelist. They could even probably play double senti if they really wanted to. I think that Woot probably has the ability to play like a deadlock and it be quite disgusting with the grav nets. So if they do opt into that, that'll be really exciting. But to be honest, I think with Boo as your IGL and probably Neil and Weber as your head coach, they'll probably just lean into the double duelist or double controller. But who knows? Maybe Boo could hop back onto the breach. Maybe that's something they could do. But yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, anyway, on to the... How should I describe this? One of the most anticipated teams at Masters Toronto, I would probably say, is PaperX. All for the right reasons. They just came back, didn't they? The train was unstoppable. Nobody could stop it, not even DRX, which says a lot. Yeah, I mean, PaperX are back. Everyone's probably wondering why is Fnatic Mini on the right side? Ethan, are you high? Are you smoking? Nah. This little rascal, right, was helping PaperX all throughout stage one, or at least towards the later end of stage one in playoffs, with their defense protocols, defense strats, helping Patman with his utility. So who knows? This guy could just rock up at Toronto and be like, yo guys, I'm helping PaperX. And if I'm all the other teams, I'm thinking, shit, this could be scary. So I mean, yeah, that's something that's really exciting. I'm not unsure if Mini is working with them, to be honest. It might have just been like a stage one thing. But if I'm Alex, if I'm Mini, I think Mini might have got a little bit of like maybe old Fnatic vibes where he's kind of like, damn, I really want to help this team and I really want to help them succeed because they are due an international trophy. If we look at their stat sheet, these guys don't run Teo like at all, other than on Haven and when they started playing Fracture to start, they didn't run Teo at all. And PaperX is such a weird team because they just don't like playing Sova unless they really have to. So in terms of this Teo nuclear explosion of the agent, if I'm PaperX, I am excited because you don't have to play Teo, which is great because they didn't have a Teo player other than, to be honest, I'm not even sure who played Teo. It must have been Forsaken, surely. Yeah, it would have been Forsaken. Or maybe Pac-Man. But yeah, you can play whatever you want. You can play double duelist, you could play double controller. Like, Forsaken can play anything. I don't think there's an agent that this guy hasn't played, other than maybe Deadlock. So these guys can cook up whatever they want. And I know I've heard this being said a lot, that like, oh, and PaperX's Sunset's back, but I don't know. Like, yeah, their Sunset was good back in 2023, 2024. But like, I don't think it's going to be as incredible as it was with that like really annoying Sage comp. And if it is, they're just going to get it banned off them and you're going to play a different map. But yeah, PaperX's chances are crazy. And of course, this guy's just going to win him the whole thing. Yeah, choo-choo, motherfuckers. Anyway, on to the next specific team of the Swiss stage is GenG. I am a GenG believer, okay? I believe that GenG could do something crazy again. You cannot underestimate a single one of these players, okay? Like, it's insane. Karen's looking insane. Texture, Foxy, Munchkin, Ash. Like, this five-man team, they're definitely not at the level that they were last year. But don't forget, the Teo changes. These guys still play Viper Omen on Haven, okay? Like, Munchkin loves his double controller and he loves his Viper. And I think with Teo being removed, he can opt into this even more than he could before. Because it means that, yeah, you're kind of playing old standard comps, but Munchkin is a mastermind. This guy is like, I would say he's honestly probably like a top 10 IGL. Top 10 IGL is very, very easy to put him in. Top 5's a little bit more difficult. But like, he's very, very smart. And same again, the coaching staff of Coach Solo and HSK, you cannot underestimate them. That power of three of HSK, Solo, and Munchkin are incredible. Like, these guys will be able to cook up some crazy things, and we might honestly just see a crazy comp from them, like a double Senti. Or just see like a double controller Sunset, which we haven't seen for a really, really long time. Yeah, I think the only question, of course, is Ash. How is he going to deal with the international stage? And to be honest, the same goes for Foxy9. Foxy9 has been kind of called out as one of the most inconsistent players of Pacific, and I kind of understand their thought process. But he looks happy here. He looks really happy. He's laughing, he's joking, he's making jokes, he's shooting, the most important. So I think, you know, if he's comfortable, and I think, honestly, having Texture on your team who just shouts and giggles and laughs and makes that team environment so fun and happy, you kind of can't get nervous, because before you can even think about your emotions and how you're feeling, you're looking at your right and Texture's kicking his feet, screaming, and you're like, what's he doing, you know? So, yeah. Anyway, NA. The main Teo merchants. Teo. These guys, of course, practically use Teo on every single map. However, they are... They were the first team, I'm pretty sure, to bring back this like Omen Gecko comp. No duelist, completely fine. And it's nice. It's really nice. And I hope they don't opt out of this because of the Teo, but I could see them doing that. But yeah, I mean, they don't run it on Haven, so they're not as big as Teo abusers as like G2, for example, but they will have to make some changes. I do think that's fine. I think Sentinels do have some really flexible and adaptable players. And I think having John QT on maybe like a lurker role, or you have to narrate and bang on the lurks and then John QT plays main initiator, is also going to be pretty nice. I do think that the only thing that can really hurt Sentinels is like mental, maybe. Like, of course, what in kickoff it was always narrate, mental booming, tilting, and whatnot. And I think, yeah, it looks like they've kind of fixed it, but like when the stakes are increased and the pressures are increased, like their first game is against Wolves. Okay, if you lose to Wolves, you're going to be pretty tilted because you're going to be like, you're kind of expected to win. Like, you're expected to go through into the playoffs quite comfortably, you know? I'd like to think so, and I think that's what a lot of the community think. So I think that's the only thing that can really hurt them. I do think that Sentinels could opt into this double Sentinel meta that I am raving on about. But I think in terms of removing the tail, I think you're fine. I don't think they're going to be that, like, they're not that reliant on it to the point where they're going to crumble as a team. Like, you've still got that, three-man core of John, Zelsis, and Zekken, and Bang and Narrate are just incredibly talented as well. So, MIBR, of course, made in Brazil. Vamos. Yeah, I mean, these guys are also kind of Teo merchants, if I'm honest. The only thing that MIBR are kind of doing is if we look at the EWC qualifiers, they are already making the changes and kind of incorporating the Sky, which I think if it wasn't Verno who was playing Teo, I would probably be quite nervous. Same with Trent. But like, Verno is really, really good. He was famous almost for his Sova and his like individual mechanics. So I think if it does go back to a Sova meta where it's Sova Breach and, you know, you've got Artisan playing the Breach, I think they're still going to be fine. But I'm also wondering if they do go for this kind of, well, it's split, so it's kind of 0 Senti anyway. That's the meta trend. If Aspas would prefer Verno on a Sky or a Breach so he can be the second one in, because the whole thing recently is Aspas doesn't bait as much and he's actually going in. So the only reason he's going in is because he knows he's going to get traded by Verno or one of the incredibly mechanic teammates that he's got. So when you play Sova, you do kind of bait a little bit more. Like, that's just the natural kind of play style. So I do wonder what Verno will choose to go. My expectations for MIBR is I could see them doing some crazy things, and I could see them crumbling. Of course, first an international event, stakes are increased and everything, but there's still the language barrier. But it honestly just depends. Like, when you've got Aspas on your team, anything can happen, but it's not just Aspas. Like, every single one of the players can just 1v5 an entire game. So this team could do anything. And lastly, real quick, we'll do China. China, I'll put my hand up now. It was the region I watched the least. So my bad there, gang. But honestly, Wolves, pretty stacked roster. Fade, Juicy, Sufat BB, Lysor, and Spring. Juicy, very, very mechanically gifted. Duelist. Some of the clips this guy hits, same again, just disgusting. Makes me kind of throw up, if I'm honest. And Fade is a really, really good head coach. I'm unsure on who this individual is here. So if you do know, let me know. That's the stat sheet. Or that's their recent record, I guess. And I wanted to put this here because it's so much better and it's nice to see them perform like this compared to Kickoff, where I think they literally played 2 games, crumbled, and just went on the permanent break. So they do look really good. Billy and Wolves are kind of on the same level, in my opinion. There's not like a big or huge skill gap between the two. It's kind of just who turns up on the day. But China have had a lot more time to prepare, so they've got a lot more time to fix the mistakes they noticed in Grand Final, anti-strat the hell out of the rest of the teams, and change the comps when you see fit. They were relatively Teo abusers, like the rest of the region. But I think, yeah, if I'm any of these China teams, if I'm honest, I'm picking crazy comps, aggro comps, and just playing off of comfort, because you're not going to out macro a lot of these international teams like Heretics, like your Fnatic, like your Sentinels, like your MIBR. You've just got to play for comfort and just play your own game. You know, don't think too much about the other opponent. Just focus on yourselves. And to be honest, you could upset Sentinels. And then, of course, we've got Billy, completely revamped roster since last year, and their stat sheet is literally the same. It is basically Teo, 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 Teo. We don't play Teo on Icebox. Icebox is kind of weird. Like, this is probably the most like diverse the meta's been on the map. Either you're running Viper Harbor, or you're doing this no duelist comp, or you're doing a duelist comp. But this could all change depending on how teams like it without the Teo. Because of course, you don't have a duelist, you put in the Teo can create so much more space with his rockets and his drone. Sova kind of can't really do that as much. But you could still do it, because you just do the Gecko instead of the Teo. But yeah, I think that is it for this video. What I am going to do is I'm going to do, in the lead up to Toronto, I'm going to talk about each team in the Swiss stage and like one of their maps, and sort of just talk over some of their recent games to highlight how good they are, how bad they are, some of the weaknesses. So I think I'm going to do GenG's Haven first. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this video. Oh wait, actually, fuck, I didn't even do the pick'ems. Okay, that was close. Okay, damn, that's completely confused me. Okay, round 1. I'm going to do, I think Sentinels will win this quite comfortably. As I said, I think unless Wolves do something crazy, they're just going to lose off of micro and probably macro. Billy Team Liquid honestly could be a really interesting game, but I do think Team Liquid should be fine. Heretics, PaperX, that's hard, man. That is really hard. I'm going to go PaperX. Am I? I think I have to. Yeah, I'm going to go PaperX. PaperX is going to come out swinging, I think, with the addition of Patman as like a, I don't know, a guy walking his dogs and he's got the leash on them. Like, that's the vibe I get from Patman. And this game, this is the most exciting game I'm looking forward to. Like, this is going to be an absolute banger. Texture versus Aspas. Oof. And I'm going GenG. GenG, baby. I believe in GenG. I believe in Munchkin. I believe in HSK, and I believe in Solo. GenG are going to play MIBR like a little animal, like a toy, right? Because all GenG are going to do, and all Munchkin's going to do, he's going to read them. He's going to get such a feel for the game. If you anti-Aspas, you're chilling. And I think Munchkin will know exactly how to counter Aspas. I just believe in GenG. I believe in GenG. I believe in GenG the whole way. Now, who do I think is going to make it through to the playoffs? GenG, PaperX, Heretics. Now, this last team's close because it could be Team Liquid or it could be Sentinels. Sentinels. That's what I think. I think I would love to give MIBR like a lot more cred, but I just think that how many you've got near enough 4 players that haven't been to the international stage, and I think in terms of communication, in terms of like energy, emotions, like I don't know, I just think it's going to be a big learning experience for them. I'd love to put Team Liquid as well, and I'm not knocking like any of these teams that aren't like being selected, but I just think that all these 4 have so much more experience and such a easier time with the meta. Yeah, that's what I'm submitting. Okay, those are my pick'ems. Yeah, Sentinels, GenG, PaperX, Heretics. GenG are winning game 1 against MIBR. Team Liquid are beating Billy. Sentinels are beating Wolves, and PaperX are beating Heretics. Honestly, they're all big banger games. All right, everyone, go watch it. But yeah, all right. Now that I've done my pick'ems, as I said, I'm going to do a video for each of these teams talking about a map, and how I think they might do at Masters again, I guess. But yeah, I appreciate all the support on the recent video, like with the Teo. If there are any other videos you want me to do, like just put them in the comments and I'm happy to do them. I have a lot of free time right now. And I'm excited, right? Masters Toronto is probably going to be one of the most exciting events of the year. So
I'm hyped. Everyone else should be hyped. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, comment if you didn't, comment if you did, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.